onto Conroy. So today, well, technically we've been doing a pre-exhaust series. So now what we're going to do is pre-exhaust the lower body, the legs. Okay. So what's pre-exhaust good for? Well, it's a variety of different reasons. All right. One of them being the specific reason you should use pre-exhaust. All right, is to get the most contraction out of that muscle group. All right. So today we're going to pre-exhaust the quads. All right. So that means if you have so the way you do this, we're going to do it a little differently because we're using the ARX, the adaptive resistance exercise machine. So that's the difference between what you're going to do, at the gym and we're going to do here. Now the concept's still the same because muscle's muscle, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-exhaust the quad, okay? And then we're going to try to get the quad muscles as tired as possible, all right? For a lot of people, me one of them, in the old days, it took a lot to get my legs to technically in-row. In-row is the term that we use to contract as deeply as possible to exhaust every ounce of energy of that muscle cell, okay? So this is good for a variety of different reasons, for sports, for bodybuilding, okay? And just to be stronger in general, all right? So what ends up happening too is that depending on the individual, when certain muscles will take up the slack, okay, because of the way you're training. So if you're training at the regular way, contraction of a rate of 1, contract 1 and then release, contract 1 and then release, okay, you're not really putting the muscle into the fullest contraction, and that's why you're going to do a lot of volume, all right? But the principles still exist if you pre-exhaust the muscle. So for you at the gym, leg extension works really well. Lunges work really well. You can even do this, what I'm going to show you in a couple minutes, on a cable machine, so something like that at home, all right? If you take the time to contract the muscle and slow down the tempo, okay, that's the rate of movement, all right? You'll be more effective in the actual exercise, all right? Don't overdo it unless you have a purpose for that rate of contraction. So everybody goes from 1 to 2, so the 1 being the positive, 2 being the negative. You can go a 5 by 5. People have done 3 by 3s. 10 by 10 is more like a rehab. It's very, very slow. So if you have an injury, I would suggest doing a 10 by 10 contraction rate. All right. Now, why do we contract the quad? Well, the reason why we contract the quad is because sometimes when we do a squat or we do a deadlift or any of those other power movements, what ends up happening is the quad usually takes up, the quad takes up sometimes the load, but you get it more in your glute, but then your glute doesn't get contracted as deeply. So then therefore you're missing out on actually the glute muscle getting that contraction. Most people can get around that by doing powerlifting movements. So you're doing a deadlift, for example, or a leg press, okay? But even then, you are still going to have to do a lot of volume. So to be more effective, you contract the quad. So this is what Arthur Jones and also Mike Metzer used to do. You contract the quad, get that out of the way, and then you go right into a leg press, for example, or you can do a sumo squat. That right there will contract the glute really, really deep. And if you're trying to get some size in your glute, right, that's one way of doing it. Because therefore the glute muscle, when you go to the next exercise, will take up more and more of the ratio of lifting. Okay, so that's how you want to kind of look at it that way. All right. Also, too, if you never trained this, it's also good to do a different kind of technique, because if you're used to a certain kind of workout, you actually adapt to that workout, even though you're upping the weight, for example, right? So doing a different scheme or a different protocol will help you also to contract differently, because you get better at a movement. Okay, so when we have the adaptive resistance exercise machine here, we avoid that by technically working our algorithm, using negatives and positives. But I still find that they get mentally tired of doing the same old workout, okay? So there's nothing wrong with changing a workout as long as you know that you're changing it for the right reasons, not because there's something magical in the movement. It's just because you have adapted either mentally or physically, and that's why you should change the workout. But mind you, if you just do basic lifts, you're going to get the results that you need. It's really the mental fortitude and the intention and the projection and the contraction of that rate that really, really counts. when you're actually working out, okay? Depending on your endeavor, of course. All right, today we're gonna use the belt squat on the ARX machine. You can duplicate this in your gym. You just can't duplicate the algorithm, the negative effect that you get from the adaptive resistance exercise machine, okay? I'll discuss that later on how you could try to do it. Mind you, this is an electric motor, so that's the difference, all right? But you can do this in a variety of different ways. Remember, you're trying to tire out your quad, so your glute is prime time when we go to the leg press, all right? This is going to score on my weight just like this. And I'm going to do a static for this one, not a movement. Because I want to focus more on the technique. And I'm pretty tired from the rest of the workout I've done. Cinch it up. Now it's going to look like I'm pretty much not squatting enough. But mind you, the machine has taken me almost to parallel. And I'm pushing all the way up through the range of motion. So it's not even set yet. Get the proper precision. Here we go. Yep, and we're down to parallel. Here we go. Now here I try to work on my technique. Keep it still, and it's a static, so I'm not going anywhere. And right now I'm feeling it in my quads. Seconds. Oh yeah, and I'm done. It is done. It's not gonna happen anymore. And I'm literally gonna have to crawl to the machine so I can turn it off. Here we go. All right, there we go. That was a static hold. And let's wait until it goes all the way up. Whew! That was crucial. All right, and it's finished. Now, I would run to the next machine. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to have as very little time between. But I've seen studies where it says that's not really a necessity. Okay, so work with it, play with it, see what you think. You're going to see me do a leg press after this. And first we're going to start off with the negative. There we go. I'm feeling it right in my glute. Of course, I'm feeling it on my quads too, but my glute is really feeling it now. I'm also emphasizing using my heel. To be blunt, you got to find out what really affects you. So if, for example, we do a leg press like this, and you feel it more in your quad, that could be foot positioning, or just your quad takes up more of this, more of the power output.
It could be the latter, where the belt squat, for example, or a regular like extension or something of that nature, you know, one gives up more than the other. So it could be your glute that gives up, or it could be your quad that gives up. So you have to take it into account that might happen to you. But statistically, most people usually the quad, get that out of the way, and then you go right into the glute, and that's how you affect the glute even deeper. But it just depends really on the machine and how you feel. And then here I get different, different clients. They feel different things because of their foot positioning, or maybe their body type, or maybe it's just their fibers. We'll be talking about fibers pretty soon, and as you can tell, I'm out of breath. This is good. You got like a little cardio effect, but I also got some muscular endurance. So go do some pre-exhaust, experiment with it, and then hit the like button. Have fun. Crowbar Gym. Oh yes, downtown Leesburg.